thank you very much for the invitation and for this opportunity to explain this work. So I should say that this is a joint work with Victor Turchin at Kansas State University and with Victor Thomas Wilvarer at ETHZ. So the subject is, so in some sense, I'm going to explain things related to the computation of the homotopy of embedding spaces using operas and graph complexes. So to introduce my course, I should say that, so this is exactly the goal. So this is my notation for the space of smooth embeddings from a manifold M to another manifold N. Okay. And so I focus on two particular cases. So the main case will be when for M, I take the Euclidean space Rm, and for N, I take the Euclidean space Rn. And I also fix the standard embedding Im from Rm to Rn. And I consider basically three spaces. So the first one is the space of embeddings with compact supports. Maybe the best is to draw a picture. So an embedding with compact supports. So if I draw the picture of an embedding from R1 into R3, so assume that this is an embedding with compact support. So this means that I start with a standard affine embedding at infinity. And over a compact subdomain, I assume that this embedding is knotted. And then I go back to infinity through the standard affine embedding. Okay? So this is this space of embeddings with compact supports. You should write down the with compact supports. Okay. So in dimension, if M is 1, it is also called the space of long knots. This is long knots in dimension 1. And beside this space of embeddings with compact support, I consider a similarly defined space of immersions with compact support. So the only difference is that in the case of immersions, I allow double points. And so I should say that this part, the homotopy of this space can be determined by using the Hirsch-Smale theory. Maybe I could quickly explain this. So the idea of Hirsch-Smale, maybe just to, so if you consider a space of immersion associated to open subsets of Rm, and if you look at the space of immersion from a union of subsets in Rm into Rn, then the upshot is that this space, it is homotopy equivalent. It is equivalent in homotopy to homotopy Cartesian product of a space of immersions from U to Rn cross the space of immersions from V to Rn over the space of immersions from U cap V to Rn. So this means that you have some kind of some kind of excision property which allows you to compute this space. Some kind of Mayer-Vietoris property. So in some sense, this is the easy part which can be computed. So for instance, you can, in the case which I consider, it can be proved that the space of immersions with compact supports from Rm into Rn has the same homotopy type as the M-fold loop space of the space of injective linear embeddings from Rm into Rn. And so here the mapping, it carries an immersion, and then you just take the map which to any point V, let's say V in Rm, so V is carried to the derivative of f at V. Okay, so this derivative is an injective linear map from Rm to Rn, since M is an embedding. And V infinity is carried to the so you just prolong to infinity. So to the derivative of. So that way you get a homotopy equivalence. So the homotopy of this space can easily be computed. But this is not the same for the embedding space. And so the idea is to take this space to look at the homotopy fiber, which measures the difference between the embedding space with compact support and the space of immersion with compact support. So basically, so this means it fits in a long exact sequence in homotopy. Well, so the goal is to try to compute the homotopy of this space, of this homotopy fiber, since this one is known. And I should say very briefly say that the idea of a Goodwillie calculus, so it's a homotopy Mayer-Vietoris version. So the idea of a Goodwillie-Weiss calculus is that this homotopy Mayer-Vietoris equivalence is a kind of additivity property for immersion space. So the Goodwillie-Weiss calculus, the idea is to look at polynomial approximations of the embedding space. The idea is that the space of immersion is the linear approximation of this embedding functor, and you look at a tower of higher polynomial approximations, polynomial in some homotopical sense, which I'm not going to explain more. So the main point is what I just would like to focus is on the result of this, so the consequence that we can deduce from the Goodwillie-Weiss calculus of embeddings. So the follow-up of the results of the Goodwillie-Weiss calculus asserts that you can compute this embedding space in terms of operatic mapping space. So H means in the homotopical sense, so it means that at some point I have to consider homotopy invariant versions of mapping spaces, some kind of derived mapping spaces. So here, so I have three objects, and this one, so here I'm looking at the space of, so dm is the operator of little m disk, and I'm going to explain the definition of this object shortly. So here I'm looking at a mapping space of maps of dm bimodules in the operatic sense from dm to dn. And this first equivalence was obtained by, so it can be deduced from results of def CNA for m equals 1. And it has been established by Aron and Turchin, this interpretation of the result of the Goodwillie-Weiss calculus for all m larger or equal to 1. And so it's a first result. And the fact that this approximation has a refinement, it can be proved that it has, so maybe I can explain both results. So there are two equivalences. In fact, one can prove that this space of maps of bimodules over operads is an m+1 fold loop space on a space of operad maps from the operad of little m disk to the operad of little n disk. And so this result, so in fact, this was first established by Dwyer S for m equals 1. So they prove that this space has such a delooping. It follows that this embedding space by transitivity, in the case where m is equal to 1, is a double loop space on this operatic mapping space. And then Boavida and Weiss have given the definition of a direct equivalence. They have proved that there is an equivalence between this space and this m+1 fold loop space without going through this intermediate mapping space. And du Coulombier-Turchin, I've also obtained a general result from mapping space of this form, which implies that there is such a weak equivalence free between this operatic mapping space of operad bimodules, this m+1 fold of operad maps, of the mapping space of operad maps. So anyway, so to compute this, the actual goal of my talk is rather to compute this mapping space inside this m+1 fold loop space. And in fact, we are not able to compute the homotopy of this operatic mapping space over Z, but rather over Q. Okay, so this is what I'm going to explain next. But first, I will recall the definition of the operad of little m disk. Very briefly. So first, what are the little m disk spaces? So it's a collection of spaces, DNR, whose elements are configurations of, so DNR, the elements of DNRs, the points of DNRs are configurations of R little disk inside a fixed unit disk. Okay, so here you see a configuration of 4 little disks numbered from 1 to 4 inside a fixed unit disk. Okay. And obviously you can forget, you can forget about the radius of the disk and just consider the map which to any such configuration of little disk associate the configuration of centers. So this configuration of centers gives the configuration of R points in the unit disk. And the fact that this map is a homotopy equivalence. So the space of configurations of little R disk, little n disk, is up to homotopy the same as the space of configurations of R points in the unit disk. That you have more structure on the space of configurations of little n disk. And this is what gives the structure of the VRPRAD on this collection of spaces. So first, so there is a structure that you get both for the space of little disk and the configuration spaces. I mean that the symmetric group sigma R acts on the spaces. So this is just given by reindexing. For instance, if I consider here the action of a transposition, I just apply the transposition to the indices of my little disk. So here that's the same. But you have more for the little disk spaces. You have composition operations of this form, which are given by this substitution process. So basically, yeah, so it's so the circle i's are defined for I running from 1 to k. So in this example, k is 3, L is 2, and I consider the operation circle 2. And the idea is to take this configuration of L little disk, to rescale this configuration in order to plug this configuration in the second disk of my configuration of little disk on this side. So I get this picture, and I forget this little disk too. And I also have to shift the indices. So here I have 3 little disks, here I have 2, I replace 1 by 2 little disks, so I get a configuration of 4 little disks. So I just shift the indices of this little disk by 1, and this by 4. You get a configuration of 4 little disks numbered from 1 to 4. And the little disk OPRAD is just the collection of spaces of configurations of little n disk together this action of the symmetric groups and this composition operations. So this is the structure formed by this collection of spaces equipped with these operations. So as I said, it's very complicated to compute the homotopy type of a space over Z. And what we are actually going to do is to compute the homotopy type of a space of maps from DM, the product of little m disk, to the rationalization, of the product of little n disk. And so beforehand, I should say that if I compute this space of maps with values in the rationalization of dn, the result which I get is the same as the rationalization of this mapping space. And this is true at least if the codimension is larger or equal to 3. So what we can do eventually is to compute the rational homotopy of my embedding space. So this, what you can compute is this rational homotopy here, for this rational homotopy computation on this side. So that's the goal. Compute the homotopy of this space. So if I have time, I will explain another case, which is a generalization, which is the space of, I would like to look at the space of embeddings from an open subset, so smooth submanifold, which contains a neighborhood of infinity in Rn. And in this case, we don't have the delooping, but we still have a description of this space of embeddings modulo immersions in terms of a space of maps of operatic bimodules from a bimodule associated to M to Dn, the product of little n disk. And once again, this equivalence follows from results of Aron and Turchin. And more or less, you have the same goal, try to give a combinatorial description of this space to compute some kind of rational approximation of this space. What you have in this case is that, so this space, unlike the previous one, is not necessarily connected. What we can do if the codimension is large enough. I mean, once again, if so there are some technical conditions, but basically this is true if n minus m is larger or equal to 3. What we get is that this space of bimodule maps, I mean, if you take the component-wise, it's the same as the rationalization of this space. Okay, so this is my notation for the connected component of the mapping spaces associated to a map. And we have also another result which says that if you look at the set of connected components, what we can prove is that our map is finite to 1. Okay, so here is the plan of my talk. So the goal is to compute this space of Operad maps, okay, up to in the rational homotopy setting. So first I'm going to give a scratch introduction to the rational homotopy theory of Operads. And then in part 1 and 2, I will explain our combinatorial description of the space. So here this is the goal is to describe our description of the space of Operad maps from Dm, the rationalization of Dn. And if time permits, I will explain the generalizations, which is this third part. From Dn to Dn rationalized. Okay, so I start with this part, rational homotopy theory of Operads. So the idea is to rely on the Sullivan rational homotopy theory. So beforehand, I would like to give some quick recollections on the definition of the Sullivan models of rational homotopy theory of spaces. So this model is based on the Sullivan functor of piecewise linear differential forms. So a set is the category of simplicial sets. And DGCOM stands for the category of differential graded or commutative differential graded algebras over Q. So this Sullivan functor is a generalization, or it's a variant of the cochain algebras of the Durham cochain complex, except that it is defined for simplicial sets and not only for smooth manifolds. It's also defined over Q, but not only over R. The easiest is to give the expression of the image of the simplex under this functor. This is just the polynomial algebra on variables of degree 0 and on the differential form symbols, degree 1, together with the differential, which says that D of a differential of a polynomial, so just the Durham differential. And so this functor carries associates to any space. So this functor omega associate to any simplicial set a differential graded commutative algebra. And so the idea is to regard this differential graded commutative algebra as a model for the rational homotopy of this space. So to justify this idea, we have to go back. And to go back, we use that this functor omega star as a left adjoint, which is defined by this expression for every differential graded commutative algebra. And what we consider actually is the left-derived functor of this left adjoint. Okay, so I use this notation for this left-derived functor. So it's sometimes it is called the Sullivan realization of the differential graded commutative algebra. This derived functor is just defined by applying the functor G dot to a resolution of A, to a covariant resolution of A in the category of differential graded commutative algebras. And if X is good enough, I mean, if it is connected and if it satisfies a reasonable finiteness, nilpotence, so finiteness assumption means that if the cohomology of X is a graded algebra of finite type, if the space X, so it's not necessary, you don't necessarily have to assume that X is simply connected, but if X is nilpotent, but this is good enough, then under these assumptions, if you start with the space X, you apply this functor, and you go back using the left adjoint of the derived functor of the left adjoint, then you get a space XQ, which represents a rationalization of the space X. So this means that if you take the homotopy of this rationalization, it's the rationalization of the homotopy group of X in dimension in degree larger than 2. And for the fundamental group, this is just the Maltsev completion. So this is the maybe so this notation is for the Maltsev completion. So the generalization of the rationalization for non-commutative groups. So basically, this construction, so it realizes the rationalization at the level of the homotopy category of spaces. So we want to do that for our priors. So what we want to do is so we want to upgrade this model in order to define a model for upright structures, and in particular to define a model for the rationalization of the upright of little n disk. So the idea, so since the Sullivan functor, goes from simplicial sets, so it's contravariant to differential graded commutative algebras. So the idea is that if we start with an upright in simplicial sets, the idea is to consider so a coprod, so the dual of the structure of an upright in the categorical sense, in the category of differential graded commutative algebras. In general, this is what I call a Hopf-DG coprod. Coprod in GGCOM. The terminology for that is that of a Hopf-DG coprod. But there is a problem here, because if you look at the Sullivan functor, so the idea, for instance, we start the upright of little n disk, or we take a model in simplicial sets, so maybe I should use the En. So En is a simplicial set model of the upright of little n disk. And so it is endowed with the composition product. So if you apply the Sullivan functor, since the Sullivan functor is contravariant, so we get a map which goes that way. And there is also a weak equivalence, the cross product from ENK tensor. So from the image of ENK under the Sullivan functor tensor, the image of ENL under the Sullivan functor. So the problem is that this map goes in the wrong direction. So it's just a weak occurrence. So if you are, so we could try to fix this by so it has a homotopy inverse, but this map doesn't have a strict inverse. So the problem is that we cannot inverse this map strictly. So we could use some kind of infinity category theory to invert these maps or to define some kind of some model. But now we get some non-strict op DG corporates by rather some kind of infinity category of infinity op DG corporates. So this may be a bit complicated, and also in this context you have to deal also with some kind of right localization, which may be complicated. So the idea to fix the problem is, instead of looking at the Sullivan functor, we look at the adjoint. If you look at the adjoint, then we have no problem. If you take the adjoint functor, it carries tensor product to Cartesian products. So with the adjoint, we have no such problem, because in this case, if you start with if A is a collection of DG commutative algebras equipped, sorry. So it's if A is a op DG corporad, so a collection of DG coalgebras, of DG commutative algebras equipped with coproducts. In this case, if you apply the functor G, so this functor carries the coproduct to such maps. And here, the map goes that way. So in the wrong direction again. But now it is a strict isomorphism. So we deduce from this observation that this collection of simplicial sets, it forms an operad in simplicial sets. And so just do that. What we do is that we take this functor, okay? This works perfectly well. And the claim is that this functor admits actually right adjoint. So it exists from, so what you can use is the, I don't remember the name, so it's the transfer of adjoints or whatever, so the lifting of adjoints. And this right adjoint, which exists for general categorical reasons, can be used to fix the problems with the Sullivan functor. So define some kind of operatic upgrading, some kind of operatic enhancement of the Sullivan functor of PL forms. Which means that in good cases, if your operad satisfies this kind of finiteness assumptions, what you can prove is that if you take, so this functor carries any operad in simplicial sets to an op DG corporad, to a corporad in DG commutative algebras. And if you look at the terms of this op DG corporad, so the DG algebras that form the terms of this of DG coprad, what you can prove that this in DG-COM, they are equivalent to the DG commutative algebra which you associate to the spaces R of R. Okay, so here I consider the terms of your prod R, the image of these terms of the simplicial sets under the Sullivan functor. So if you forget the operatic structure, you get something which is not isomorphic, but quasi-isomorphic to the Sullivan model of the spaces R set, R of R. So, and this also implies that if you form the same construction as in the context of spaces, I mean, if you take, so you start with an operad in simplicial sets, you take the image of this operad under this operatic upgrading of the Sullivan functor, and then you go back to simplicial sets by realizing this of DG coprad by using this functor, then you get another operad in simplicial sets, which term-wise, which arity-wise, is equivalent to the Sullivan rationalization of the spaces R of R. So term-wise, you retrieve the results of the classical rational homotopy theory of spaces. Oops. So this is what you want. So now, so the goal now, so is to compute, if you want to compute the rational homotopy of a space of maps on DM. Maybe I could write on the, yeah, maybe. So the goal, so we want to compute the space of operand maps from DM to the rationalization of Dn. So this is the same as the space of maps from Dm to the realization of the Sullivan model of this operand. And by adjunction, this is the same. So if I have to put derived mapping spaces everywhere, by adjunction, this is the same as computing the space of DG of coprads from the Sullivan model of Dn to the Sullivan model of Dn. So we have reduced our problem to an algebraic problem. Okay? So there are two issues. First is to define such a model. So now the problems is to compute, so to define a small model or to compute this model. Maybe I should say that. So to compute this model. Compute means reduce. So this is done by using the formality of the little disk operand, and then to compute this operatic mapping space in the category of DG of coprads. So I'm going to explain this computation in the next part, and then I will tackle this computation. So this is what I said. So the goal is to compute this model, and the idea is to use the formality. So beforehand, I have to recall some results about the homology of a little disk operand. So the homology of a little disk operand, of the operand of little n disk, is identified with the n Poisson operand. So it's an operand which covers the category of n Poisson algebras. So this operand has a description by generators and relations as an operand. So it is generated by two operations in RET2, one which corresponds to the fundamental class of a point, so just the generator of VH0. So here we use the Dn of 2. So it's the same as the space of configurations of 2 points in the disk. And this is the space, the same as an n-1 one-dimensional sphere. So if you take 2 points, the configuration of 2 points, this homotopy equivalence just carries such a configuration, the difference Z1 minus Z2 over the norm of Z1 minus Z2. Okay. So this Dn2 is the same up to homotopy as an n-1 dimensional sphere. So as such, it has two homology classes, two generating homology classes, one in degree 0, one in degree n-1. So this one in degree 0, in some sense, defines a product operation in the set of generating operation of this operand governing n Poisson algebras. And this class in degree n-1 defines a Lie bracket generating operation of Poisson n. So Poisson n, it's the operand generated by these two operations. They satisfy this symmetry relation. So these relations give the action of the symmetry groups on these operations. Okay. And also these relations with respect to the composition. Okay, so this one says that the product is associative. This one says that the bracket satisfies the Jacobi relation. And this third relation says that the Lie bracket is a derivation with respect to the product. They satisfy these relations with respect to the composition product inherited from the operand of little n disks in homology, and they satisfy the relations within the homology of the little n disk operand. So this means that every element, every homology class of Dn is a composite of these relations modulo, of these operations, modulo these generating relations. And so the formality asserts that reinterpreted in the framework of the rational homotopy theory of operands, asserts that the Sullivan model of Dn is quasi-isomorphic as a Hopf-DG operand to the dual of this operand of Poisson algebras. So Poisson n, so it's a Hopf-DG operand, just the dual in the category of graded Q modules of this operand of Poisson of n Poisson algebra. So it can also be identified with the coprod defined by the cohomology of Dn. And here I'm taking the image of Dn under the Sullivan functor. And as a consequence, so I already explained this reduction. And we have a further, so we can replace these models, this computation, by the Poisson operand, so the one in degree n for the model of Dn, and the one in degree m for the model of Dn. So now we have a concrete problem, which is to understand, compute this operatic mapping space, so between these explicitly defined objects in the category of DG Hopf cooperads. So there is a remark here, in fact, so in the middle term, here in conservation construction, we use the coprod of graphs. And this is this coprod that I use actually to get the combinatorial description of the result of this computation. So I'm going to explain the definition of this coprod of graphs. So this graph coprod, so first as differential graded modules, so the components of the coprod of graphs N or C. So it consists of graphs with two kinds of vertices. internal vertices, which we usually color in black, and external vertices, which we color in blank. The internal vertices are undistinguishable, and the external vertices are indexed from 1 to R. Okay, so they correspond to the inputs of the operations in the corporate of graphs. And there are some assumptions. So loops, edges with the same origin and endpoint are not allowed in the graph corporate. All internal vertices are at least trivalent. So this is to reduce the computations. So these two options, these two conditions are optional actually. But the third one is essential. We assume that each internal vertex is connected to an external vertex by a path of edges in the graph. So next is an example of a picture. So you see here's an example of a graph with three internal vertices and three external vertices and one internal vertex. So it defines an element in the third term of the graph corporate. So I have to explain more. I have to explain how to define the degree of such an element. So the degree, the cohomological degree of a graph is defined by counting minus edge for each internal vertex and n-1 for each edge. So you see that in this example, the degree is minus n, if you have only one internal vertex, plus 3 times n-1. So we get 2n minus 3. So this is in cohomology. And the differential, it is defined by merging internal vertices together or by merging internal vertices and external vertices. So here is the example. So here, this is the differential of this graph. So if I contract this edge, so if I merge this internal vertex with this external vertex, I get this picture. And here, this is the result of a merging. So if I contract this edge, so if I merge the internal vertex with the second external vertex, I get this picture. And here, this is the last case. So if I contract the last edge, then I get this picture. And there are some signs which depends on choices of ordering for the edges and the vertices. The product of graphs, it is given by the union along external vertices. So here is an example. So you see that all these graphs here are decomposable because, for instance, if you take this product, so you take the union along external vertices, then you get this picture. There is another example. If I take the product of this graph with this one, and I get this picture. And so on. And the corporate products, they are defined by collapsing subgraphs. So I mean, so I'm not going to give a picture. So the idea is to use sum over all subgraphs inside the graph gamma to define the core product. So here there is a typo. To define the core product, the quadratic core product of a graph in the term of variety k plus l minus 1 of your prod. This is done by summing over all subgraphs of gamma based at the external vertices numbered from I up to I plus L minus 1. And for the first factor, you contract alpha to an external vertex. And for the second factor, you keep alpha. And actually, so in Kontsevich proof of a formality, this corporate of graphs is used as a middle term. It can be seen as a middle term. I have to go back here. Yeah. So this corporate of graphs in Kontsevich proof it occurs here actually.
Excuse me, Benoit.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Can you repeat the explanation about the co-multiplication for the cooperative?
The co-multiplication, basically, yes. So the idea, for instance, in this example, if I start with this, maybe I could insert a picture. So if I start with a graph like this, 1, 2, 3. Oops. Maybe I will take this one. So graph with no internal vertices. So if I want to compute the co-multiplication here, circle 1. So here basically you have two terms, but one is trivial. So this is gamma. Basically, you take the sum over all subgraphs based at the external vertices 1 and 2. So here you have, for instance, you can take this subgraph alpha, and so you contract this subgraph alpha to a single vertex. Oops. You contract, you get this picture. Okay, so this subgraph, you contract it to the external vertex number 1. And then the second factor, you keep alpha. The other possibility is to consider here an empty subgraph. But here you get, if you consider an empty subgraph, so if you take gamma alpha to be just with no internal edge, okay? Yeah, I could write this in red. I can do is this. Sorry. So if you take an empty subgraph, then what I will draw the picture below. Then what you get actually is you get a loop actually. So this is 0. Okay. So you sum over all subgraphs which are based at this subset of external vertices. And the claim is that this coprod of graphs is quasi-isomorphic to the coprod of to the n Poisson coprod. And the mapping, it carries a graph with a single edge, the dual of the Lie bracket, and all other edges to 0. Which means also that this graph is carried to the product, the dual of the product. So the claim that if you extend this mapping, this coprod, by preserving the structure, the internal structure, then you get a quasi-isomorphism of op-DG coprod. So this means that you can use this graph coprod, you can replace this n Poisson coprod by this model. And this is useful because this coprod is cofibrillant, actually. So we can use it in the computation of our derived mapping spaces. That's what I'm going to describe now. I think that I first describe the result of the computation. So we use this. So the idea now is that we want to compute this space of maps of DG op coprods from Poisson N to Poisson M. And so here, this is a derived mapping space. So we have to take a cofibrillant resolution of this Poisson corporate on the left-hand side, on the source. And here we take, as a model, we take this graph corporate. There is a mistake, I think. So here there is a typo, this should be graphs. And here you have to take a resolution, and actually we will consider a general resolution. So we take this corporate of graphs as a cofferent replacement of Poisson n in this computation, and we will use another functional resolution of Poisson m on the target. So I'm going to explain this part now. First, I'm going to explain the result. So the result of this computation, and the result what we get, the output is a combinatorial description of this operatic mapping space in terms of what we call array graph, actually, array graphs. So array graphs, so this is another kind of graphs where you still have internal vertices as well as internal edges and external edges also, which are the hairs. Okay, so in some sense, these external edges, they correspond to edges that connect an internal vertex to an unnumbered, and now unnumbered external vertex. And the idea is that to get this result, this is because when you apply our computation at some point, you get a reduction where all external vertices in the graph corporate become univalent and become unnumbered, actually. And so once again, you can compute, you have a degree assigned to every such kind of graphs, which are computing by using these rules. Okay, so for instance, this one, the degree you have, so now this is the homological degree. You have 4 times minus n plus 5 internal edges plus 2 hairs. And the differential, now it's the dual of the contraction operation of the definition of a graph corporate. It's given by a blow-up of internal vertices. And this is a Lie algebra. So this complex is equipped with a Lie algebra structure. And the Lie bracket is given by this formula. So basically, the idea is that is to take a graph, alpha, and to reconnect a new sum over all reconnections of the hairs of alpha to an internal vertex of beta. And you symmetrize the sum. And our result is that this mapping space that you want to compute, it's homotopy equivalent. So it has a it is in homotopy the same as the Maurer-Cartan space associated to this complete DG Lie algebra. I'm not sure that I have. So here, this Maurer-Cartan space, if G is a DG Lie algebra, so this is the elements of forms. So it's a simplicial set, okay? And the elements, so if G is a DG Lie algebra, and the elements here are forms with value in the DG Lie algebra, G, of cohomological degree 1, and which satisfies the Maurer-Cartan relation, which says that the differential of gamma plus 1/2 the bracket of gamma with itself is equal to 0. This is the space simplicial set of Maurer-Cartan forms. Associated to G. And so the claim that the space of Maurer-Cartan forms associated to the Airy graph complex gives the models of this operatic mapping space that you want to compute. And as a consequence, also we can compute. So this is by a result of Alexander Berglund. If you want to compute the homotopy, then this is just the homotopy of this mapping space as a base point. It can be computed as the homology of a twisted version of this of the Airy graph complex. So the twisted version means that to the internal differential of the Airy graph complex, we add the bracket by the Maurer-Cartan element, omega. So the ideas of the proof are already given many ideas. So the idea, if you want to compute this derived mapping space, we take the graph coprad as a covariant resolution of the n Poisson coprad on the source. And we use actually an analog of the Portman-Fogg W construction as a resolution of the Fabrant resolution of the M Poisson coprad on the target. And then we carry out some reductions. So it can be proved that this space of Maurer-Cartan forms, of this mapping space, actually, it can be computed as a space of Maurer-Cartan forms on an L-infinity algebra of biderivations from the graph coprad to this resolution. And then so now we have to reduce this this L-infinity algebra of biderivations. Okay, and that's here we use that this is free in some sense, this is co-free in some sense. So we use this freeness properties in order to reduce the computation of this by the complex of biderivations, the complex of maps of graded modules. Okay, and then so we use also the Koszul duality to reduce the generators here to something which is related to Poisson, and then there are some reductions involving, so we can reduce this complex to the Airy graph complex. So I'm not going to give more details. And just, I don't know if I have 1 minute to state the result, the generalization. So for the generalization, we get the same result, except that we consider now a decorated version of a Airy graph complex. So decorated means that the hairs can be decorated by elements of a commutative DG algebra. And now it is an L-infinity algebra because we also use the product of this commutative algebra, commutative DG algebra, in order to define an L-infinity structure on this graph complex. So this L-infinity structure is given by these pictures, and the result is this one. So this mapping space of operatic modules, which computes the space of embeddings from M into Rn. Okay. So it is described now as a Maurer-Cartan space associated to this decorated version of the Airy graph complex, where for the commutative DG algebra, we take a Sullivan model of this compactification of M, or any model of this space. And as an example, to give an example of concrete computation, we can check that for this example, S3 cross M, where M is S3 cross S3, and N is 11. This space is trivial in degree 1, and from that we deduce that this space is rationally, so it's rationally connected, and this implies that this space is finite actually. Okay, thank you very much for your attention.
Let's thank the speaker. Let's thank first the speaker, please.
Thank you. And maybe there is the last slide that I'm not able to retrieve it. So it's because the last slide was for the references. Maybe I could try to import it. That's it. Yeah. So this is for the rational homotopy theory of operas. This is for the formality result, actually, the interpretation in terms of the rational homotopy theory of operas. And this is the computation of a space of maps, of operad maps from Dm into Dn, so the first result. And this is for the generalization.
Is there any question for Benoit?
You had one question, Benoit. So when you say the model category of Hopf-operad, what do you mean? Because I mean, whenever you have Hopf, limits and co-limits and so on don't happen to exist, right?
Yeah. So what we have is so there are some difficulties with so there are some technical issues. So one way to address the issues, so in the case of, actually maybe I've not been precise about this definition. So here what I consider. So here we should so one way to simplify everything is to consider a category of connected Hopf corporates. So means that the object here. So I mean for a Hopf corporate here, assume that A0 is trivial and A1 is K actually. Also, so I use these connectedness conditions. And this can be used to handle, so in this, otherwise you have difficulties with colimits, or rather with, you have difficulties with co-free objects and with limits actually. So this can be used to handle difficulties with limits actually. The other option is to assume that to consider corporates that are conilpotent. And then you can also handle the limit problems actually. So you see Hopf corporate in this case, so it's so A is a corporate in DG commutative algebras. It's a corporate in this category, and the colimits can be computed term-wise, if I'm right. So I have to remember, yeah. So the colimits. So for instance, the core products. This category of corporate, this is just the tensor product. So you have to take care of this, the fact that you fix A1. But otherwise, so this is just this. So colimits are computed term-wise or reality-wise. And with this simplifying assumption, you have also co-free objects, which enables you to compute colimits. And there is a slight generalization where you can assume that A1, so you see, for instance, the graph corporate is not an object in this category, so there are some kind of technical problems. But there is some kind of slight generalization where you can assume that A1, so you can take some conilpotents. So what you consider actually is are conilpotent corporates. So to handle the problems, handle the so this enables you to consider more general terms in RT1. And here, for the term of RT0, the idea is to use so instead of considering, so the idea is to integrate, so actually, the case of operads, here. So this is so you can consider symmetric operads, which means that things are null in RT0. And there is also another notion, which is one of lambda. In this case, morally, it's equivalent to, so the objects here are equivalent to cooperads with a fixed term equal to k in RT0. The idea is to integrate you forget such a term in the underlying collection of a coprod, that you integrate composition coproduct with this term in the diagram structure. Integrated in the diagram structure. Maybe this is easier to explain this idea on operads. So for instance, if you do lights in the case for operads, the fact if you consider the category of operads, so symmetric operads with P0 equal to a point, and this is isomorphic to the category of lambda operads. With nothing in RT0. The idea is that because the idea is that the composites, if you compose the operations like this, if you assume that this is a point, then this is the same thing as a face operation, actually. So it can be described in terms of a diagram structure shaped on the category of finite sets and injections, instead of considering them as coproducts. So in that way, you can handle difficulties with limits and colimits.
Okay, thanks.
Is there any question so far?
I have a question. Could you say a few words about the sign convention in defining the differential in the graph complexes?
Yeah, very quickly. So the idea is that if you have to consider in this case, oops, I lose the image. In this case, what you have to consider is that, so if you look, for instance, so if you look to a graph like this, maybe here I should give a name to the internal vertices. And here, so you have to regard the edges. So maybe I'm going to explain the graph conventions in the graph corporate rather. And here, so the external vertices don't count. But basically, what you consider, so to any such graph, gamma, you associate a tensor with vertices of degree. So you take symbols for the vertices. Maybe I will use another index. This x. Maybe I will consider a graph with 2. Like this. In this case, this example, so you have 2 x and y, 2 internal vertices. And to this, you associate a tensor Vx times Vy. And what I have not said is that the edges have to be oriented.
Okay.
So you take a product of symbols, each one of degree minus n,
Okay.
corresponding to the vertices. And here the edges, Yx, Jx, omega xy, omega ky, omega yl. Okay, so in each of the edge symbols are of degree n minus 1. And if you change the orientation, change of orientation gives the same result up to a sign minus 2n. So it reflects the action of the symmetry groups of the antipode on the sphere, actually. On the sphere of dimension n minus 1. So if you think the sphere, if you apply the antipode, it acts by the multiplication by minus 1. And if you permute the factors, then you use the standard sign rules. And for instance, if you want to compute the differential, for instance, to contract this edge here, if you want to contract this edge, what you have to do is to put this edge first, to put this vertex first, and then you perform your contraction. You perform your contraction, which has the result of discarding these symbols, and you get a sign actually. That's a way to get this to get the sign.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So it corresponds to geometrical construction. So in the formality, formality proof of in Kontsevich proof of the formality, things were done geometrically, and this corresponds to the geometrical operations involved in this proof.
Okay, thanks. I got it.
Benoit, I have a question as well, which is related to taking the Sullivan model instead of the Quillen model with Lie algebras. Recently, Aniceto Murillo and his collaborators have discovered the direct connection between DG Lie algebras and rational homotopy types. Like with PL forms, directly you have the adjunction in one step. And I wonder if you can use this to instead of using Hopf cooperats, using just
try to define a model of operats in DG Lie algebras or something like that.
Yeah, because you don't have to dualize, and that's this kind of things that you discuss with Fernando doesn't arise.
But the problem is that you have to handle base points, because if you look at the homotopy groups, actually what you have, if you start with an operad in simplicial sets, so here you have a structure, you have composition operations, and the fact that the composites here, so you have to consider some kind of groupoid or whatever, because you see here, if you consider the composition operations, the effect in homotopy, then it makes so you see it involves a choice of base points.
The model doesn't need any base point. It's also for disconnected spaces. It's more
But I
yeah. Excuse me.
If the prod is simply connected, maybe there is no problem. But so in that case, what you would get actually, but also there are some problems because, in fact, at some point we use some kind of if there is also another model of this coprod of so if you take Dn, sorry. So if in fact so I can compute the Lie model of Dn actually basically. So it can be described in terms of graphs, but also there is another model which is given by the Drinfeld-Kono Lie algebra. Okay, because if you want a Lie model, then it has to be related to the Sullivan model by this kind of relation, where this is the complex of Chevalley-Allenberg cochains.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe so I have no theory, no general theory, but I can describe what the result is in this example. And so here the model, it can be, you can take this collection. So it's a collection of DG Lie algebras. Okay, so I remove the parts in degree 0. And the copra structure are maps of DG Lie algebras. In that case, there is no, and you see also there is an issue here with this Lie algebra model because here you consider the direct sum. And the problem with the direct sum, it has not good, it has no good. So this direct sum, categorically, it's not so good because you see the tensor product is distributive with respect to colimits. Okay. Or if you work with coprats, the tensor product is distributive with respect to Cartesian products. But here, the direct sum, it's not distributive. It doesn't distribute over colimits or limits. That's the problem. So you can hardly define a model category structure with this model actually, because so the issue is this problem. So it's so Pn is an uprod in DG Lie. In this category, with the direct sum as tensor product, with a zero object as unit. But the problem is that it doesn't distribute. If you deal with over colimits in DG Lie. And so this creates, so you face some difficulties, for instance, if you want to construct a free operators in DG Lie algebras. So,
yeah, I see.
So it's creates difficulties with categorical constructions. So you can do things, you can do some computation, but you can rely on model structures or such things actually. You have to in this case, you have to give a description of a mapping space directly, actually, without relying on the categorical background. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. If there is no more questions, yes, interrupt me if there are. And if not, let's thank again Benoit for his wonderful talk today.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your attention. Okay, so. I hope that this was okay.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I had some difficulties with open board or such things, but I'm not so used to use this tool, but anyway. Yeah. This is more difficult when it's easier when you are in the room, actually.
When you are?
When you are in the room, actually, in front of a blackboard.
Yeah. But even though your explanation was quite clear and covers a lot of topics, so I think it's quite fine.
Okay. So thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you.
See you another time, hopefully in person. Yeah. Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.
Mhm.